Oh, welcome to the Sharp Way Show. It's Larry Sharp here, a little bit past 7 p.m. on the East Coast. And yes, I am here today. And recently, usually I don't do that many shows heavily based upon LNC or Libertarian Party details. That's not common for the shows that I do. But recently, I've had a couple people come on and talk about the LP National, LNC, all those types of things. And then I had somebody say, Larry, why don't you have Angela McArdle on? She's the LNC chair, and she can talk about this stuff herself. And I thought that is a wonderful idea. So indeed, I am very happy that I'm bringing on the one and only chair of the LNC herself, Angela McArdle. How are you?
Hey there, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. And if you want to find out what's going on there, you can do two things. You can head over to Twitter and follow her personally at Angela4, the number 4, LNC chair over on Twitter, or X, whatever is the cool thing now. And the website, of course, is lp.org. So, Angela, I have to ask you, there were some people who came on a show and said some things that didn't sound so nice about the LNC the last couple of maybe year and a half or so. Is there anything you wanted to bring up about that?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot to unpack. I think, first of all, it's like an interesting way to spend your time obsessively engaging in internal party fighting. I think when you're trying to see a certain outcome, it's totally fair and square. This is politics. I don't think it's professional or that it instills much confidence in people if you go on and you slander and you lie about stuff, saying that we disaffiliated a bunch of state affiliates, that we didn't do that. Like, that's wrong. You shouldn't lie.
Well, let's bring that up, because I had people tell me that did happen, and then people tell me that did not happen. And to be fair with you, I'm ignorant to this, so I actually don't know what actually happened. Tell people who got disaffiliated, who didn't.
Yeah.
What happened?
Only one state got disaffiliated. It was New Mexico. And they had multiple complaints from their members brought forth to the LNC that they had violated their bylaws internally for about 4 years.
Okay.
And that was not Mises people. It was people who were old timers in the party, people who had been around before I had. I got active in 2016. These people had been involved long since. Lots of grievances, lots of complaints that were completely unrelated to any of the latest party drama. Now, in addition to that, they wanted to be disaffiliated and passed. They passed their own disaffiliation thing, and then we have to nerd out over parliamentarian issues, and then someone raises the issue that we states can't technically disaffiliate themselves, but we can view it as a request according to the bylaws.
So if I'm clear, what you're saying is they said they disaffiliated.
Yeah.
You then said you can't do that. And then you disaffiliated them.
Yeah.
Is that correct, or am I wrong?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, got it.
And it's annoying, and it sounds like, you can't disaffiliate. You're not breaking up with me. I'm breaking up with you.
You can't quit. You're fired.
Right.
Right.
But procedurally, I have to follow certain procedures. And if I don't, I'm no better than the people who came before me that the Mises people are very critical of. So I have to do it by the book, as annoying or petty as it seems.
Okay.
And so we had.
What about other states that people are saying are no longer? Is it? Hold on, I may get it wrong. I've heard, and again, to be forward, I do not spend much time in national politics, so I could be completely wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Virginia and Massachusetts, is that right? They're like two separate things, or something like that.
No, it's just false. I mean, there are people within those state parties that went and created their own organizations. But we did not disaffiliate anyone. And the party was never dissolved. It's fine. Jennifer Leatherbury is the chair of the Libertarian Party of Virginia. Same party that existed when we, had the Reno reset. Massachusetts, not disaffiliated. There's a separate group of people up there that are working on like a different Liberty PAC and group. They're not the Libertarian Party of Massachusetts, but they exist. I don't dispute that, certainly. Someone said that Minnesota was disaffiliated, and I don't even.
I heard that too. Yes, right. Yes, I did hear that too. Is that not true?
That's just made up. They're fine. Their chair stepped down, but come on, guys. If if every time a chair steps down, you think that the party's disaffiliated, then I guess we don't exist, because we have turnover every couple of years. Rebecca Whiting is the new chair. She was the vice chair. That's it. They had some resignations, but there was no there was no attempt at disaffiliation. Like, it's just, I mean, we got to do better than this. We can't be the kind of people that just like lie and make stuff up. And,
Okay.
you know, like, come on, everybody.
So let me go down to what I think people would ask you, which is, if you're looking at this year and a half that you've had, about year and a half, where do you think you've gone right, and where do you think you've fallen short? I shouldn't say you, that's not fair. The party. Where do you think the LNC of the party has succeeded, and where do you think it's fallen short?
I think that I greatly underestimated the amount of animosity and resentfulness that would come from some of the people that we essentially took the party from. Mm-hmm. I thought that we would mostly get along, and that has not been what's happened. People are very angry. Mm-hmm. They do not like the new direction of the party. They're much more interested in sabotage than I thought they would be. And that's definitely been a miscalculation on my part.
Okay.
I think that I should have been more aggressive and assertive in the first 3 months of my tenure. I think I was very interested in making things work with former staff, with just other people in the movement. And I took too much of a go along to get along attitude, and it dragged us down and it set us back significantly.
So let me be clear of what you're saying. And are you saying that you wish you had pushed these people out? You wish you had let them go? You wish you had fired them? I want to be clear what you're saying. Oh, okay.
Sure. I think I should have done more layoffs in the beginning.
Okay.
Absolutely. It essentially comes down to, we did what some people viewed as a hostile takeover. Mm-hmm. And we came in and we said, we still want to work with you, and we want you to carry out our vision. And they fundamentally did not agree with our vision. And then we had a bunch of internal fighting, and it was extremely counterproductive. And we had competing visions. We passed a strategic plan that we were going to focus on membership X, Y, and Z. And then we turn around and we have this like Civi CRM pledge that the board naively passed. And I have busted their chops about it privately, and I have talked about it publicly. And, that was not the way to go. And I argued against it. And so we had two competing visions, and that was just not the right call. I should have been a lot more assertive with what I wanted to see the party do. I think it would have spared us a lot of pain.
Okay. So what I hear all the time is membership.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about membership?
Yeah. So let me think about how to talk about this without really throwing anyone else under the bus. Ultimately, I have to be accountable for everything.
Okay.
And when I came in, staff did not have a lot of things set up to cater to our members.
Okay.
Renewal. I mean, we have an online social on Fridays, and we had some thank you cards and membership cards going out, and that's about it. And we had some turnover, and we had technical challenges, and it all seemed to sort of implode all in the worst possible ways, and in a way that it was like, what would you call it? Like a synergistic disaster. Does that make sense?
Okay. But what I've heard, and Craig is actually asking me to ask you about this. He says 1 in 3 have left. Is that accurate or no?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that that's accurate. We've had a substantial dip in membership for sure, but I don't think that 1 in 3 is correct.
Okay.
And the membership report comes out publicly, should be out, I think, by the 29th or the 30th this month. But I mean, do we want to talk about why?
Sure.
I think that there are a lot of people who they don't want to give us their money, and that's fine. But it is interesting that they would complain about the party not doing well when it's you, angry listener, who have decided that we should not do well, and you don't want us to thrive. And I got to tell you, like prior to my tenure, there were a lot of things I was very unhappy with the national party at, which is why I ran. And I always encouraged people to donate and get involved if they want to change it, not to starve the party financially. So yeah, there's angry people. There's people who don't want to donate, but you know what? Like I'm the one making donor calls all the time. And I also hear a lot of happy people and a lot of rank and file members who they don't care about any of this. They don't know anything about it. They give
Also
us
true.
they give us somewhere between $25 and $250 a year, one and done. And they just say, I hate Republican and Democrat politics. Please just, keep doing what you're doing. So, beyond that, we've had some serious technical challenges. And let me think about how to phrase this. I'll give a really good example. We did not do direct mail for a while because staff told me that they could not do it. And I think that that was an error, but I understand why. Because once I insisted that we start doing direct mail and mailing our members, we started having a very high margin of error because we had a serious database error.
Okay.
When we merged our data from Razor's Edge to Civi CRM, something happened, and I have asked staff to do a write-up on it, and trust me, it's on his to-do list, but it's a little bit further down as far as, like priorities of actually fixing the problem versus explaining it and describing it to the membership, where I'll email or I'll send out a mailer to 5,000 people. I think I have as high as a 10% margin of error. So what that means is if I'm asking you to renew and I'm asking 5,000 people to renew, a good chunk of them are like, I renewed 4 months ago. Why are you asking me this? So I'm not reaching the right people, which is a waste of money. And then I fail to capture the renewal revenue that I should be getting from those people that I have missed. So it's kind of like a double loss, right? Like it's a needless expense. And then I fail to recapture revenue. So you've got that too. In addition, when I make donor calls and I hear this from my staff and contractors, occasionally we'll get, oh, I was going to donate to you, but I just had some libertarian PAC call in impersonating you and I gave them $200.
A libertarian PAC called impersonating you?
Yeah.
Is that a real thing?
I think it is. And I don't think that they're impersonating me word for word, but, it's enough to create confusion on the end of some of our senior donors.
I see.
Hi, this is the Liberty PAC. We're donating something. Libertarian Party, improve. Please give me your money. And so it happens. And that's the feedback that I'm getting from my members.
So let's walk down that road then. If membership is off, and maybe it isn't 1 in 3, I actually don't know, but I've heard that more than once. It's 1 in 3. Mm-hmm. And if that chunk of people is the people who are unhappy with the Mises takeover and don't want to give their money to the party, how do we remedy that? Or do we, right? Do we find a way to remedy that? Or do we go, you know what, they're gone, whatevs, move on, right? Because clearly, as you know, people have a right. If they don't like it, they don't have to pay. Whatever, they can do what they like. I totally understand that. But what is our response?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both, right? So it depends. So some of the feedback I get, I don't want to donate until Nazi Mises Caucus is out of leadership.
I've heard that more than once. Yep.
I feel that my responsibility is to have a short exchange with them. And if they're going to continue to be nasty to me, to let it go.
Okay.
There's, like I kind of have like a rule of 3. I'll have like 3 interactions in good faith. And if I'm still getting what I view to be unreasonable or hostile, I let it go.
Okay.
And I think that that's the best way to handle that. Some people, we're going to have to let them part ways. I had a different member, for example, call in. He was aghast that I had endorsed someone that he didn't like. And he was like, I'm not donating anymore. And he was a $100 a month donor. I called him up and I said, I didn't endorse that particular candidate. That's a hit piece on me by the Daily Beast. They hate us, by the way. That's not a good publication. They're not friendly to us. And he said, oh, I had no idea. Please just ignore that comment. I'm not gonna cancel my membership. Thank you so much for calling me. No one in the past has ever bothered to reach out and explain something like that. So it's really just on us to try to communicate with the membership, I think, as much as possible. and let the chips fall where they may, you
I
know?
think there are two issues that I hear constantly.
Yeah.
And one I know is I don't know if it's wrong, but I know it's not the same. And that is linking you and the Twitter account of New Hampshire.
Yep.
I hear that as
Yep.
they're the same. The New Hampshire Twitter account is the Mises Caucus. I hear that all the time. And I know that is untrue.
Yep.
But if that's what's happening, if people are saying that
All the time,
literally a Twitter account from New Hampshire is the party, reps the party, is what we care about, how do we square that circle, or do we? Maybe we should.
well,
I don't know. You tell me.
you know, it depends, right? I do what I can. I do reach out, I communicate to the news, and I have to do things diplomatically. It's not my intention as chair of the national party to throw my affiliates under the bus, even when they do things that make me just like, you know, sink into my chair. The best way to approach those things always is to first reach out to someone behind the scenes, explain the situation, and ask them, you know, if they can help me out. Can you help out the national party by doing or not doing XYZ? I would appreciate it so much. Here's, you know, what I'm trying to accomplish, and here's the barrier to that. And that's what I always try to do. And I've done that with New Hampshire too. And they just have a different strategy. And I'm going to be very diplomatic in the way that I talk about them here. Like, they care very much about New Hampshire. They have a New Hampshire first policy. They think that what they are doing, that the comments that they make are things that help them. From my perspective, I don't think it helps them. I think that it's harmful to me and the national party. I get a lot of grief from it. And unfortunately, it gives a lot of opportunities.
What I'm getting at, though, is the point that I'm trying to get at is, look, my personal opinion of New Hampshire doesn't matter, right?
Sure.
They do what they want. That's fine.
They do.
Like, all good. But my worry is people aren't seeing that as that's the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire's Twitter account. They're not seeing it that way.
No, I hear you.
They are seeing it as that's literally Angela yelling, right? That's how they are seeing it. This is what the party is doing. Can we at least let them go their way, right? Let them do their own messaging as they see fit. And then, but it's not the rest of the party. Is that even doable? I mean, I think they don't want it to be thought of as the rest of the party either. I think they're very happy to be, we're New Hampshire, to hell with the rest of you. I think they're happy to be that way.
I think so too, you know, but it's really like the question should be posed to people like Liz Wolfe at Reason, who just want to commit character assassination on me and other people. You know, I know how you feel.
I think you know my views on Reason.
Yeah.
Reason is a poser rag that poses in gold face and makes me want to vomit. All they care about is destroying the Libertarian Party. They only will do bad things about it. They never make us look good ever. Never. They only make us look bad. And my view is, and I've said it publicly, we should stop talking to Reason always. Never talk to Reason. Never talk to them. If you're a Libertarian, if you are a big L Libertarian, not a small L, if you like Liberty Movement, good for you. But if you consider yourself a big L Libertarian, stop talking to Reason Magazine ever, no matter what. That's my view. So I'm with you on that one for sure.
New Hampshire makes it difficult. There are a lot of people out there, though, who know damn well that there is a big difference. And they purposely conflate the two of us, and they do it with a gleeful look in their eye, because it's their mission to inflict as much pain and damage and character assassination on me and the National Party as possible.
Yes. You know? So let me move to that damage. Donations are down.
Yeah.
People complain all the time about donations being down. How do we fix if the donations are down? And again, I'm going to assume what you're saying is correct. I don't know the details. You're saying that a lot of that is former Libertarian Party members who've decided to no longer give, right? Assuming that's true, how do we either draw them back in, option one, or two, somehow replace them, and which is the right way?
Okay, so let's dig into this. Let's get some nuts and bolts, right?
Okay.
August was like a real low point, $74,000 monthly revenue, recurring revenue. I jumped in as interim executive director, and I have continued to fill that role, and I will fill it throughout the remainder of my term. And I said, in 90 days, we're going to turn this around. And in 90 days, we more than doubled our revenue. There you go. We went from $74,000 in August to breaking 100,000 in September to 180,000 in October. Now that's going to have a huge bump because that's the delegate cutoff time. And if you're involved in internal party politics, you know that you renew your national membership by the end of October so that your state party can have as many delegates as possible to go to the national convention. November, 126,000. December, we're working really hard to meet our $125,000 goal. So what do we do to change our membership situation?
Hold on, let me ask that question then. So if it went from 74 to 125, awesome. Great move. Was that people who used to be members going, you know what, I'm back in? Or was that new people who said, no, it's new people, now I want to support?
That's members who were back in. That's members who needed more of a personalized touch. They needed direct mail. They needed to be nudged. They needed someone calling them on the phone. So I came in and I said, we're hiring a contractor. We'll get to that. I'm going to hit the phones more regularly. So I do a lot of donor calls and I do a lot of donor thank you calls. And for some reason, there's been this rumor that I don't do calls, but there's like thousands of people who've received calls. So whatever. And I just started doing more calls and I started telling staff, you got to do calls. We're going to have call quotas if you can't do calls. And I don't mean to like bust staff's chops. They have a lot to do and they're very busy, but I said, we have to make this more of a priority. We have to start prioritizing membership. Previously, there had been a huge emphasis on trying to fix Civi CRM, rebuilding the infrastructure, logistics and operations. And it was just this absolute quagmire. It was a mess. And I don't blame them because it was a really difficult mess because you'd had the whole national staff operation honestly was just a giant house of cards waiting to fall apart because you had faulty technological problems. You had no documentation for like 20 years. You had very shaky or non-existent job descriptions. And once someone leaves, institutional memory just flies out the door with them. And then you have this person covering for that person because so-and-so wasn't very good at their job, but heaven forbid, we can't get rid of them or we can't do X, Y, and Z because there would be political ramifications. It was a complete just joke and mess. And so when we brought new people in, they didn't fit into that culture or they weren't fully brought in and things just began to disintegrate and disintegrate and disintegrate. So I had to jump in and say, I'm going to literally be in charge. I'm not going to be just a figurehead on the board and I'm going to run staff operations. We're going to focus on membership. First thing we did was clean up the operations mess. I spent a lot of money outsourcing us to accountants or hiring an accountant's firm because all of that tax preparation, FEC work, XYZ, all that stuff needs to be outsourced so that institutional memory isn't lost because it's extremely complex. Cleaned it up, operations cleaned up, then fundraising.
I get where you're going. You're moving through these things. I want to bring up a couple of things that I have a lot of comments. I want to bring a couple of comments. One, I want to jump on the Reason real fast, if I could. James asked, if Reason is libertarian, what is it politically? I will tell you, they are corporate Republicans who hate Trump.
Sure.
That's what they are. They're corporate Republicans who hate Trump. They've become corporate media. That's what they've become. They've become corporate media. So yes. And to go with that, Forrest Mommy says, Reason is a Washington, D.C. bootlicker. I'm not going to complain. So yes. Andrew says, they're freaking feds. Yes. Shelley says, Reason isn't libertarian anymore. So I'm not alone in my thought process with Reason. So yes.
There are very fine people at Reason. There are good people. I will tell you that every year at Freedom Fest, there are some very sweet people who work at Reason who come up and they tell me and they whisper, I agree with you.
Yes.
And that is very indicative of the culture there, which is that if you are not a rank and file Reason talking head true believer, you have to stay below the radar.
Yes. So I'm sorry I got a chance to slap Reason, so I did. Anyway, I do want to go back to other things, though. One of the biggest questions I have from the chat is, do we support? Are we going to get? What about 50 state ballot access? Shelley asks about it. Hold on. Joe asks about it. There's like 3 or more people who are asking, but this is a big deal. People keep asking about it. Craig asks about it. Ryan asks about it. So that is a big deal. Please tell me what's going on with ballot access, 50 state ballot access coming up here in 2024.
I'm 100% committed to 50 state ballot access. So let's talk a little bit about how the Joe Jorgensen campaign performed. Like it or not, the performance of our presidential candidate impacts ballot access in certain states.
100%.
It just does, guys. You can't pin that on me. You can't pin that on the last LNC either. It's just, and then there are decisions that the last LNC made that do impact it. And there are going to be decisions that I make that impact it.
Well, the last LNC made sure that I didn't get ballot access in New York State. So yes, you will get no argument from me. They made sure that literally the most important race of 2022, which was my race, which would have got us ballot access forever in New York State, they made sure I didn't get it. So I would agree with you on that.
It is important. New York and California are incredibly important because they are signaling mechanisms for the rest of the country. And if you can jump the highest hurdle, you can jump any of them.
Correct.
So from my perspective, I agree with you.
Yes.
So, there are different opinions on the LNC about what the role of the national party is.
Okay.
Very frustrating for me because I ran on a handful of things that I thought were pretty damn clear. Candidate support is one that's controversial. Not everybody thinks that I should be giving money to candidates. I disagree. I'm the chair. I'm going to throw my weight around and I'm going to try to fund candidates as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
So, suck it. People who disagree with me. Ballot access, I do think that we should be trying to do as much heavy lifting on ballot access as possible. The Virginia GOP made a plea to the national GOP in 2023 in this year for funding. Mm-hmm. Please help. They have their state level elections in an off year and they didn't get any money and they got stomped by the Democrats. And I think it's a really good learning lesson for us. Like, let's watch where other people fail and let's not repeat that mistake. Let's learn from it. I would love us to have a tighter relationship with our state affiliates. Ballot access is one of the ways. So right now we're slated to get at least 47 states. And I imagine we're in the same place that we were the last two presidential election cycles. You're always going to have 2 to 5 states that are iffy and hard to get.
Which ones do you think are the ones that are iffy and hard to get right now?
Well, New York for sure.
Yes. Is that it? Just New York?
We have Kentucky is going to be kind of challenging, and I think we might have one other one.
Okay.
Can't remember what it was.
So Alabama right now at 47 right now.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And it's not that the others are a no, it's that they're like, warning, caution, this is going to be challenging. So you and I have had a lot of conversations about New York, and I think there are several paths forward that way that are going to be cost effective. We don't have to shell out $450,000. We do have to work with other people and not behave like a bunch of animals. Yes. So that to me is is a more difficult hurdle than fundraising. So
it is. People have been angry at me for trying to gather allies to get ballot access. They get mad at me all the time. Like, wow, how good dare you talk to these people? I'm like, because they'll give me people to sign petitions.
We've got to.
Yes.
Brian McWilliams, our communications director, he had a fantastic talk at the quarterly in-person meeting. And he said, we're always out there trying to convert everybody to be generals for the liberty movement. We need our own rank and file members. We need a bunch of people who refer to themselves as libertarians who don't walk around with a thick ass copy of Man, Economy, and State preaching about Murray Rothbard. Right. We need those people. And that means we got to start working with people who are a little bit more normie. It doesn't mean that I want to put them in positions of leadership, but I do want them to be voting libertarian, to give me $25,000 to $5,000, and to like what we're doing.
I agree. The notorious Pink Flame of Liberty says that the big ones are New York and Ohio, and then we will have Kentucky and New Mexico.
We're already working on Ohio, though. I mean, I've already shelled out some money on Ohio. I mean, she's not wrong. We haven't got Ohio yet, but we do have signature gatherers, and we just got a new member in Ohio.
So I want to talk about Trump on the ballot, and also you talk about consultants, and then I want to talk about your vision, if I could. But before I do that, I'm going to talk to the viewers. Please, guys, if you like what's going on, click the like button. It does matter. Click that like button. I'm asking you to do it because it does matter. Every little bit counts. We want people to see this. We'll talk about it. If you're watching this on Twitter, then please retweet this right now. Just retweet it. Do it, retweet it, re-exit, repost it, whatever is the thing, whatever Elon calls it today. I don't care. If you want your chat to go to the front, you can. You can super chat me if you are on Larry Sharpe YouTube if you want to. But either way, you can follow Angela. Follow her on Twitter at Angela4LNC Chair. The website is, of course, lp.org. So
read it now.
Let's go, if we could, to we have a couple of comments I do want to grab that kind of talk about what you're talking about. Let's see here. A bunch of them. But one of them I want to bring up here is Shelley says the LNC could have sent you a free lawyer. That would have been nice. I like that. Would have been good. That would have been funny.
Yeah.
So yes. But I guess some of the questions I want to bring up is when it comes to consultants. You see, you're going to hire a lot of consultants. You said we're going to get to that. Tell me about the consultants and why are people concerned about you hiring consultants?
Okay, so our last political director was a consultant. Our CRM guy was a consultant. So the like attitude over we shouldn't be hiring consultants is kind of ridiculous. Like we're outsourcing, and we outsourced last time, and I kept, one of the contractors that we had, and he's doing a fabulous job. Hopefully, actually, I'll be able to bring him on staff next year. There was a big controversy that I hired Austin Padgett to do fundraising, who is basically my spouse, my domestic partner. I use the word partner because I think it's cringe, and that's just not my lingo.
It's fine.
Because he's very skilled at talking with wealthy people, and he has his own donor contacts, and he knew some of our major donors as well. And what do you know, bringing him on board coincided with a huge increase in revenue because I have someone who's skilled on the phones. It worked out really well. Let me tell you about how long it took to hire my operations director. It took 6 weeks to dig through resumes. I did probably 30 interviews. Some of them were really short, but I did about 30 phone calls to try to find the right person. I didn't have that time to do that for fundraising. I didn't have it. It would be irresponsible to do it when people were screaming and begging for me to make more money. I made the right call. His contract is up at the end of January. He's got something else lined up, and that's it. He'll be off to doing his other job. But people screaming that he makes like 10% of revenue and he's the highest staffer is just like patently false. He's very false. It's completely false. He's very mid in his salary. I think he might be tied for 5th place. What does this matter if he's generating revenue, by the way? It's like our priorities are completely wrong. We bring someone on staff who's willing to put up with, by the way, also the insane toxic internal culture that we have. It's no joke to hire someone. I have to very diplomatically explain, by the way, you may end up in an SPLC hit piece. You could be smeared a Nazi, racist, white supremacist. I can't just bring on any person. That's not how this, you know what I mean? There's a real risk involved. And so you have to find someone who's willing to put up with it and who knows how to handle it and can still spin like straw into gold. We're all just a bunch of little Rumpelstiltskins at the national level right now. And he's done a phenomenal job. I don't have the time, energy, money, bandwidth to sue the people who sent out national mailers lying, saying that he made $7,000 a month, which is just a complete lie. That's too bad. You could have put that towards a candidate. You could have put that towards someone who I think is a terrible candidate and still done a better job, and been more responsible individual, but whatever.
So do you think that people got upset about that?
Some did, sure.
Because they thought you were hiding it? Because they thought you were scamming in some way, shape, or form? Or they were just mad at you?
People said they just didn't like it because we lived under the same roof and they thought it was nepotism. Which is interesting because as libertarians, we're supposed to be good with economics. We're supposed to be very entrepreneurial minded. I know a ton of members own mom and pop shops and their families work in business together. That is a completely normal thing that happens all over the world, but especially here in the United States, where we have an emphasis on entrepreneurship. But regardless, he was the most qualified person. That's what it is, you know, and we're certainly hiring for his replacement. I've stated
So then,
several times.
so let me ask then, if I could, let me give you a little bit of a nudge here in this one. If he's the right guy for the job,
yep,
and he's doing great at it, why are you replacing him? Why wouldn't you just keep him from the 6 months or whatever?
Oh, you know, heaven forbid we do anything that upsets the members, but he's got something else lined up. You know, we were just going to do this part-time, which would give me more time to find someone else that wouldn't make some people's heads explode. But, you know, how many heads did explode? The bottom line is my revenue is up. So it can't be that terrible of a decision.
Okay. So speaking of that, you went through some of what you felt was some of your successes, some places where you fell short. What's your vision? Well, let me ask a more important question. Yeah. Are you considering running again for chair, or are you done?
I'm running one more time. I'm going to be a 2-term chair. That's it. I'm not doing 3 terms. You want to
punish yourself again? Okay. I don't know if I should say congratulations or if I say condolences. I'm not really sure.
We're going to see it through. So here's what I want. I want the party to start treating these elections more like successorship. And that's going to take a cultural shift. It's not something that I can force. We need to not have hostile changing. I spoke with the former chair like 0 times on changeover. That's not going to happen. If I don't win this election, whoever it is, I don't care if it's frickin', you know, Nick Sarwark, we're going to have a sit-down meeting where I share everything that we've been working on and knowledge. And whatever that future chair does and throws it out the window and trashes it, that's up to that person. But I'm not going to be responsible for trying to sabotage the organization. I want us to have a culture of successorship. I want us to get fed 50 state presidential ballot access. I want us to move off of CiviCRM, and we are doing it. The national party is getting off of CiviCRM. So here's what we're doing. We've got like 3 bids in right now. We're going to pull the trigger on it very soon. The national party will no longer use Civi for our marketing automations, for our emails, for our analytics, for our membership records. The states who are on Civi will stay on Civi unless they decide to leave off of it, and we will continue to service it for at least 2 years. But national operations go in somewhere else.
So immediately Rhetoric asks, what is CiviCRM?
Dude, it's this pathological disorder that we have in the Libertarian Party where we have politicized software. Imagine if you were at a place and people were fighting vehemently over whether or not to use Microsoft Word or WordPerfect. It's like that, you know, except WordPerfect, you know, hadn't been updated in a while. So it's totally stupid, and we shouldn't be fighting over software because we're not a freaking software company. As Tyler Harris, former executive director, told me many times that CiviCRM was our Vietnam and I would never get us out of it. Well, here we are, my friend. Here we are moving out of it. Staff is ecstatic about the thought of moving out of it. They believe that it's going to be much easier to service our state affiliates when we're not in it. And there were many screams on the internet when I announced this. And they said, surely you're lying. You won't continue to service the states. Like, people think that I sit here and I craft these like lies. And I'm like, I can't wait to screw them. It's so absurd. Of course I want you to succeed. Whatever. We'll have a lot more time to fix it when we're not constantly trying to service CiviCRM where it's broken and I can't, you know, for example, my staff sends out an email a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And one of them puts an emoji in the title and it shuts the whole thing down for 4 hours because it couldn't handle the freaking emoji. Like, I just don't have time for that. Right. So that we'll have the tech support team with whatever we're going to. They can be the one to solve the emoji crisis or whatever the hell it is. While we work on.
So I get where you're going.
Yeah.
So let me ask the more important question. You were the Mises-backed candidate in 2022. Will you be do you know, maybe you don't know, do you know if you will be the Mises-backed candidate in 2024?
I sure will be. Absolutely. Okay.
There we go.
So and Hannah Goodman, the Colorado chair, has decided to run for vice chair.
Okay.
which is fantastic. And Andrew Watkins, the current vice chair, is reseeking as an at-large member. So we just did we did a little musical chairs, but it's great. And Andrew's been phenomenal, by the way. He's not all over social media, so he kind of flies under the radar, but he does a great job. But Hannah's gonna step in there. He's gonna jump to at-large, and we're gonna kick some ass. I'm excited.
Nick has chimed in. Nick says, LPMN secretary here. Angela is correct. There was never any disaffiliation on either end of relationship with the LNC. So I'm assuming that is Nick actually the secretary?
Yeah. I talk to the Minnesota party like at least every couple of weeks. I communicate with them through Discord, social media. People don't realize like this is people running their mouth, gossiping. I do talk to a lot of my state affiliates on a regular basis, so I do know what's going on. Try to go through, do that all the time.
Okay. I'm happy to hear that. So I guess that's true. People are noticing Maine, by the way. I'm hearing that a lot. Juan asks, is National LP committed to getting New York back on the ballot in 2024? I think it should be the main goal of the LP. Now, Juan is in New York, so of course he thinks it's the main goal. I happen to agree with him. Everyone should stop doing everything and just help New York, damn it. I'm kidding, obviously. But I am in New York, so I get it.
I'm committed to it. I mean, I'm very committed to it. Not everybody on the LNC shares that priority. It's not like they think that it's not worthwhile, but they're like, oh, we got to do this, got to do that. That's like third or fourth on my list. It's pretty high up there for me. Like, I really think we can get it done, but let's see if we don't, shoot ourselves in the foot. That's my biggest worry. It's not the money.
That libertarian lady, she is, I think, upset about Jacksonville. She says, I'm curious why we didn't get any promoting here in Jacksonville in Florida when we had 3 libertarians running for local elections earlier in the year. I remember that I went down there and helped them raise some money. I was down, I think, so was Chase Oliver. I think he also went down there.
What kind of promoting?
I don't know. I'm just checking this out. I don't know. But we did go down there. I was there. I remember Chase was there, and a couple of people were there too. We did go down there and go say hi. There were 3 people running. It was a city council, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 3 city council people who were running.
Well, we got 39 candidates elected. We had candidates running, not in all 50 states, but in at least half of them. And I personally did a lot of, work on trying to get their information, find out what's going on. I don't think we did like promoting of any local candidates at the national level. And I don't think that the party historically has. That's something I'm interested in changing, but we gotta, crawl before we walk, before we run.
So let me go back, if I could then.
Yeah.
To the idea of less members and less donations.
Yep.
And the concept of bringing back people who have left. Bringing back people who have left, to me, seems like an easier task in my mind, but that's generally speaking, in any business, that's true, but it isn't always true. Do you think that is the answer? That the answer for donations and for membership is bringing back people who walked away? And if so, many of them walked away because they saw it as a Mises takeover. They thought it's a total failure. They were unhappy. If you are the Mises candidate again, isn't that going to be pushing them away? Or is there a way of shifting that?
I actually think the answer is bringing back people who just let their membership lapse, going back as far as 2016.
Okay.
So it's people who've left, but it's not people who left angrily. And I'm giving you that information based on phone calls that I've personally made, the list, and seeing what staff has done. I think there are a lot of people who are like, oh, you know what? Like, thanks for calling me. I used to be a member and like, I don't know, I voted for Donald Trump or whatever. And I just think now it's like stupid. I'll just renew.
Okay.
Easy sell. It just is. It takes like so much more of a personal touch. Honestly, the answer might be me hiring a bunch of people to make calls for like really cheap.
Okay. John Chow was teasing me saying fewer members. Thank you for busting my stones, John. There are fewer members. Yes, thank you. They're countable. I do appreciate the grammar is correct. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes. But then, okay. So does that mean then that the people who left, who were unhappy with the Mises takeover, let them go?
I think some of them will come back. I'm not tripping over myself to bring back people who call me a Nazi and slander me. I think that
Okay.
that's not a good use of my time. I don't think it's a good use of the party's time.
Okay. I get it. So then we're going to be expanding for more people and then getting the people who just left because they just didn't see success or they didn't like Joe or they thought Trump was
political
cool.
reasons. People I mean, sometimes it's as little as, like my credit card expired and I was too lazy to renew it 3 years ago. Everybody has had that. You all know you've done it. Everybody's had it once. Sometimes people have that, well, it's the most important election of my lifetime, and I just can't mess around. I got to vote for the lesser evil.
So since you are running,
you
are going to run again. You are the Mises candidate again. Tell me, what is your vision for the party, assuming you win? For 2026 in this case. By the time you're walking away, assuming that you do your two, what is your vision for when you're leaving 2026?
We've already got some of it started, right? So let's see it fully to fruition. We've got voter gravity. So now we have professional campaign tools, template websites. Staff is almost done with one. I just spoke with a donor today who wanted to set us up with another. Template websites for WordPress, but also for Nation Builder and at least one other format, maybe Wix. That's the feedback that I've gotten. I know Florida really wants Nation Builder compatible websites. Volunteers. So we've got the technical stuff. We've got LP Masterclass coming up in January and February. We've got a ton of online trainings. I started them with United Independence October. We're going to have LP Masterclass. I finally got regional trainings going through the Western Liberty Network and potentially through another volunteer from Leadership Institute.
Okay.
What we really need are more human beings. The number one complaint I get from candidates right now, and by the way, if you were a candidate in 2023, we do have a candidates postmortem call January 10th. Number one complaint is that we don't have enough campaign volunteers. So we need to train our candidates on how to make fundraising calls. I know it's painful. I personally do it every week, and it's not my favorite thing to do. But if you sign up to do this, you're going to have to fully do the thing, right? And this is part of doing the thing. Fundraising calls and human beings. We do that, we're going to be an absolute powerhouse. I want us to get a lot more people elected at the local level. I want us to dig into our data analytics, which I can't do right now because my stupid tool is broken, thanks CVCRM. Find out what inspires our members to donate. Why did people join? What are they passionate about giving? What will activate them to get them actually helping our candidates? And then take that data and find more people like them and grow the party in a meaningful way. I like
that. So let me go then to what I think some people are asking. Dave brings this up. He says, fewer members and less money. Again, the edge lording, in my humble opinion, is hurting us. So I want to bring up this idea of, do we think the messaging is, and only because, again, we have 50 states, and I don't think New Hampshire is going to stop their messaging. I think they're going to keep going. They believe it's correct. They're not going to stop. So how do we handle, is this messaging still good? Is it bad? How do we handle the messaging side, or should we even deal with it?
I think it's really difficult to tell whether or not people walked off because they didn't want messaging or because they just hate the Mises Caucus.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it's genuinely difficult to tell because I don't get as many complaints about messaging as I do calling me a Nazi.
Okay.
I would love people to be very precise in their complaints and why they're upset, and they're not. I get things like Nazi Mises Caucus, white supremacist, didn't like the, something Donald Trump. I get a lot of complaints like that. And by a lot, I don't mean like a genuine a lot. I have far more positive interactions than I have negative, but those are the kind of messages that I get. Very rarely do I get a comment that says, I hate your Twitter. It's actually few and far between.
Okay. So messaging, you don't think is that important?
I do think it's important, but I'm telling you, I genuinely don't get as many complaints about Twitter as people who hate our Twitter might actually think.
So, okay. So not a priority. Juan agrees with you. He says, Angela is right. My LP membership lapsed last month, but to be honest, I never got a reminder to renew. Nevertheless, I just renewed my membership.
Well,
So there we
thank
go.
you, Juan, and I will try to fix stupid broke Civi CRM so that you will get, your regular reminders.
There we go. Ryan says, hold on, that was Shelley, sorry, wrong one. Ryan says, if LNC tried to reign in New Hampshire, the same critics would be condemning the LNC for disregarding the autonomy of an affiliate. And this I agree with. I do not think that you should try to reign in New Hampshire. I agree with Ryan in this one. You should not. I think New Hampshire has a right to do whatever it wants to do, however it wants to do it.
They're going to do it. I've had conversations. People will probably be upset that I even mentioned this publicly. I've mentioned it a couple times before, and it did get to a point where some of it was public on Twitter. But it's just my responsibility as chair is to do like the best job that I can to maintain a good relationship with other affiliates and to try to like communicate to them if they're creating challenges for me. But I'm not disaffiliating someone over Twitter. Like, it's just not going to happen. And we should just like not entertain that idea. It's just not going to happen.
Well, there we go. Well, before we wrap this up, is there anything that I've missed and something you want to say, something you want to bring out, something that I should have brought up that I hadn't? Or haven't,
yes.
I should say. Go ahead, please.
We are doing another anti-war rally, and we are doing it February 17th in Washington, D.C., in front of the Lincoln Memorial. We are partnering with people on the left, with libertarians, and possibly even some conservatives to rebuke the deep state and the war machine. So if you want to join us, please do that. It'll be an LP-sponsored event, defeatthedeepstate.org. Please donate. Please support this rally.
Did you say it was defeatthedeepstate.org?
Defeatthedeepstate.org. It's going to be awesome. We are also doing a Festivus fundraiser right now. We are doing your airing of grievances for the federal government. So if you want to complain about the government, go to lp.org/Festivus. Drop us $10, put a little money in our LP stocking, and let it rip. Tell me what your biggest complaint about the United States government is, and we will be tweeting it, and I will be doing an airing of grievances this Saturday. And the ones that get the most social media interactions, we might turn into LP merch.
Look at that. We're going to get some LP merch on top of it. I do appreciate it. So, guys, please follow Angela if you would. Angela for LNC Chair on Twitter or X. And check the website out, lp.org. If you want to be a big L libertarian, as I am, I'm a lifetime member. If you want to, you may do so. Go to lp.org and please renew your membership. If not, I understand. You don't have to, not required. But I hope that you will still support libertarians when you can. Either way, whatever is the answer, I would appreciate that. Anybody else who wants anything, please feel free to put your comments in the chat if you want to right afterwards. For everybody else, I want to say thank you. Thank you, Angela, for giving me so much of your time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. More than anything, I want to tell people that the future of the LP is awesome. We are on an upward trajectory right now, and I think 2024 is going to just be a badass year. So let's get hyped. Let's get hyped, man.
There we go. I appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much. I will see you all very soon.